Hi everyone, I'm Karis and this is my week 5 discussion video. And the figure that I thought was the most interesting this week was John Calvin. And he mostly interested me because of his story and how, even though he was kind of pushed out of many cities, he was able to still keep teaching and developing his teachings and his influence even when he was pushed out from so many cities. And he even went back to Geneva after he had been pushed out and stayed away for a little while. But then when he was asked to come back and teach, he was willing to come back and help teach and kind of leave behind the fact that he had, been like exiled from there in order to be able to spread God's word and to teach others. So I thought that was really inspirational and just something that made me drawn to his story. I also think it was really interesting how the writings that he had called the Institutes, he made the first edition of them while he was on the run from France, I believe, and then he continued to write them all through the rest of his life. So I thought that was very interesting, and how he taught all the way until his death, and then was buried in an unnamed tomb because he didn't want his tomb to be like visited by people to like worship him instead of God. So I think that was just a cool part of his story that I really enjoyed hearing about. And the quote that I chose from the reading is just one that I thought kind of summarized his teachings and his life pretty well, and it was this: a considerable amount of Calvin's time, energy, and even finances were directed towards aiding fellow Protestants in the city and beyond, such as through the restoration of the diaconate and Calvin's mind, structure, and order, rooted in renewal, securing the marks of a true church, the right preaching of God's word, and the right administration of the sacraments. And I also really liked what he said, or what he taught about how knowledge of ourselves and knowledge of God are closely tied together. And I thought that was just something important to think about, and I really liked that. And then in connection to the lecture, I thought it connected with what the lecture said about liturgy, because John Calvin's teachings are kind of the base of a lot of denominations. Like Calvinist beliefs are the base of some Christian denominations. So the type of liturgy that those churches usually have is focused on God's sovereignty and is centered on the word and the sacraments. So I thought that was just like a connection there, because his teachings kind of are the basis of some denominations, and then those obviously all have their own liturgy. And I also think in the video where it explained lots of different denominations that people have, it also explained all of their liturgies, and obviously most of those ones, or I don't think any of them were Calvinist denominations, but they each also have their own specific liturgies, which I thought was just kind of another connection. That's all I had this week.